Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Before starting the video, please subscribe and keep watching for more details videos. Coco Gauff faces brutal Aryna Sabalenka challenge as historic Serena Williams feat promises glory. Aryna Sabalenka has been knocking on the Grand Slam door all season, but it just won't open. 2 finals, 1 semifinal, and still no shiny trophy to show for it. But hold the pity party, because she's pulled off something that the GOAT Serena Williams last did. And guess what? That's bad news for Coco Gauff. Let's break it down. Sabalenka has officially crossed the 12,000-point mark in the WTA rankings. She now sits at a towering 12,420 points, up from 11,640 before Wimbledon. Since she missed the tournament last year with a shoulder injury, all 780 of her semifinal points counted toward her total. Here's the history she just matched. The Belarusian becomes the first woman since Serena Williams in 2015 to go past 12,000 ranking points. Back then, Serena held 12,721 points during the 2 weeks of the U.S. Open. That number dipped to 11,501 after she lost in the semifinals of Flushing Meadows. Still, Serena's mark was untouched until now. That makes Sabalenka's rise even more impressive. Iga Swiatek came close earlier this year with 11,695 points, but the 27-year-old has now gone one step further. Her grip on the number 1 spot is tighter than ever. She leads by a personal best margin of 4,751 points over the number 2 ranked player. And that number 2, it's none other than Coco Gauff. While Sabalenka added 780 points from Wimbledon, Gauff lost ground. She had reached the 4th round last year, which gave her 240 points. But after falling in the first round this time, the American accumulated just 10 points. That's a sharp drop, and it could cost her more later. The 21-year-old is now sitting at 7,669 points. She's got 3,060 points to defend in the rest of the season. That's nearly 40% of her current total. She raked in most of those points with a title run in Beijing, a triumph at the WTA Finals, and a deep semifinal push in Wuhan. The pressure is starting to build. Iga Swiatek is climbing fast after her brutal 6-0 Wimbledon win over Amanda Anisimova. The poll has jumped from number 8 to number 3 and now has 6,813 points. Even more dangerous is the fact that Swiatek only has 830 points to defend the rest of the season. If Coco Gauff stumbles again, she might find that number 2 spot slipping through her fingers. Coco Gauff gets golden opportunity as Aryna Sabalenka withdraws from the Canadian Open. Aryna Sabalenka has pulled out of the WTA 1000 Canada Open, citing fatigue. I'm looking forward to kicking off the North American hardcourt swing, but to give myself the best chance for success this season, I've decided it's in my best interest to skip Montreal, she said in a press statement. That leaves a big opening. With the world number 1 out, Coco Gauff and Iga Swiatek will headline the Montreal draw. Gauff didn't have the best showing here last year, losing 4-6, 1-6 to Diana Schneider. Afterward, she admitted she wasn't even sure she should have played, coming off an emotional exit at the Paris Olympics. But Canada hasn't always been unkind to her. She reached back-to-back quarterfinals at the tournament in 2022 and 2023. And this time, she'll have more time to prep after that early stumble at Wimbledon. Mentally, she's already flipped the switch. I'm not going to dwell on this too long because I want to do well at the U.S. Open, she said. Maybe losing here first round isn't the worst thing in the world because I have time to reset. And when it comes to the U.S. Open, she's got less to defend. Last year, defending champion Coco Gauff exited in the 4th round at Flushing Meadows after a loss to compatriot Emma Navarro. That leaves plenty of room for her to stack up points this time around. Sabalenka's dominance leaves a wide gap to close, but Gauff has the court all to herself in Canada to secure that number 2 position. The next few weeks could shake things up. Can she rise to the occasion? The sun hung low over the hard courts of the U.S. Open, casting golden hues on a battlefield where legends are born and dreams are either realized or crushed. As the crowd buzzed with electric anticipation, Coco Gauff stood at the edge of history, a 20-year-old phenom carrying not just her racket, but the hopes of a generation. Awaiting her across the net was Aryna Sabalenka, a wrecking ball in human form, known for her thunderous serves, ruthless forehands, and a presence that turned opponents into spectators. The Belarusian had bulldozed her way through the draw with the confidence of a reigning world number one. And now, in this seismic semifinal clash, she stood between Coco and a path paved by none other than Serena Williams. The echo of greatness. It had been exactly 24 years since Serena Williams, then only 17, stunned the tennis world by lifting her first Grand Slam trophy at the U.S. Open in 1999. That victory launched a dynasty. And now, whispers of history echoed again. Gauff was 3 matches away from matching Serena's feat. Same court, same tournament, same age range, and eerily the same energy. But the path was not lit by fairy tales. It was one of sweat, struggle, and steely nerves. Coco had clawed her way back from a summer of doubt, from a rocky Wimbledon performance that had critics questioning her game. Since then, she had responded with power, poise, and a fire unseen since Serena's early days. The tennis world watched, some skeptically, others with bated breath. Could Coco rewrite the script? Could she overcome the towering test that was Aryna Sabalenka? The Warriors' preparation. Gauff's morning began not in glitz but grit. At 5:45 a.m., before the stadium lights and celebrity glare, she was already on court with coach Brad Gilbert, the wizard behind her newfound mental steel. They drilled returns for 2 hours straight, focusing specifically on Sabalenka's 125 miles per hour serves and her tendency to favor the inside-out forehand on second points. This isn't just tennis, Brad had told her days before. It's survival, and history only remembers survivors. Coco nodded. Her headphones blasted Kendrick Lamar and Megan Thee Stallion as she visualized the match. 1 point at a time, 1 shot at a time, 1 moment to change her life. Meanwhile, on the other side of Flushing Meadows, Sabalenka practiced with her usual flair, power, intimidation, and a certain swagger. She had destroyed her quarterfinal opponent in under an hour. To her, this semifinal was another step toward a coronation. But deep inside, even Sabalenka knew Coco was different. Coco wasn't just fighting for herself. She was fighting for a legacy. Opening salvo, fire versus ice. Arthur Ashe Stadium was at full capacity. Celebrities dotted the crowd. Cameras zoomed in on every bead of sweat. Billie Jean King sat courtside. Serena's former coach Patrick Mouratoglou observed intently. The moment had magnitude. From the first ball, Sabalenka came out blazing. 3 aces in her first 2 service games. Gauff, despite her speed and athleticism, found herself chasing shadows. It was 3-0 before anyone blinked. But then came the moment. Gauff returned a 128 miles per hour bomb with a forehand down the line that kissed the chalk. The crowd erupted. Coco didn't flinch. She turned back toward the baseline like it was routine. From there, the tide shifted. Gauff began to read Sabalenka's toss. She anticipated the angles. Her defense turned to offense. Like a boxer ducking jabs only to counter with haymakers, she fought back. The first set ended 7-5 in Aryna's favor. But Coco had carved cracks in the wall. And everyone felt it. The second wind. Between sets, Coco closed her eyes and breathed deeply. She's not unbeatable, she whispered to herself. The second set saw Gauff explode with purpose. Her forehand, often criticized for being too loopy, was laser-sharp. Her backhand, a thing of beauty, sang with rhythm. She broke Aryna's serve twice, once with a ridiculous 22-shot rally that ended in a screaming cross-court winner. The stadium rose to its feet. Coco took the second set 6-3. Now it was a war. Battle of nerves. In the final set, both women traded blows like champions. Sabalenka's serve kept her alive. Gauff's legs, never-ending wheels of fury, kept her in rallies long enough to force errors. At 4-4, Coco faced 3 break points. A Serena-like roar emerged from her as she saved each one with bold, gutsy play. Charging the net, taking time away, slicing when needed. It was vintage Williams courage in Gen Z form. Then came the game of the match. At 5-5, Gauff forced two double faults from Sabalenka and then uncorked a backhand passing shot that would be replayed for decades. She broke serve and looked up, not to the sky, but to her box, where her parents stood, emotional but composed. She served for the match like a veteran. No hesitation. No fear. Match point. One deep rally. One miscalculated inside out by Sabalenka. One short ball. Gauff pounced. Winner. Game. Set. Match. The Serena parallel. Tears welled up in her eyes as the crowd thundered in applause. Coco dropped to her knees, clutching her racket like a sword. Serena's shadow hovered, not as a competitor, but as a guardian. In the post-match interview, when asked about the comparisons, Coco smiled. "I grew up watching Serena," she said, "but I'm not here to be the next her. I'm here to be the first me. Still, if I can even touch a piece of what she built, it would be an honor." Social media exploded. Serena tweeted simply, "She's ready." Crown Fire hashtag history reloaded. The road ahead. Now only one match remained. The final. But already, Coco Gauff had earned more than just a shot at a title. She had conquered a mountain. She had outplayed the most feared player on tour. She had stared pressure in the face and refused to blink. She wasn't just Coco anymore. She was a symbol of new power, of fearless femininity, of black excellence, and of youth that dares to dream. And the feat Serena achieved in 1999? It no longer stood alone on the mountain. Gauff was climbing fast. If she lifted the trophy 2 nights later, she would become the youngest American to win the U.S. Open since Serena. The whispers of history would become roars. The baton would be passed not with ceremony, but with battle. The legacy she builds. Off-court, Coco is just as commanding. With eloquence that belies her age, she speaks on social issues, inspires through authenticity, and connects with fans across generations. Her recent sit-down with Oprah broke streaming records. Her fashion at the Met Gala turned heads. She's not just an athlete, she's a movement. But on court, where it matters most, she's pure grit. Serena showed the world that a black girl from Compton could conquer a lily-white sport. Now Coco, the girl from Delray Beach, Florida, picks up that torch, not to carry it in Serena's footsteps, but to blaze her own trail into the future. And Sabalenka? She will surely rise again. But tonight, she became part of Coco's story, the necessary mountain that makes the summit worth everything. Final thoughts. Whether Coco Gauff wins the final or not, her performance against Aryna Sabalenka already secured her place in tennis folklore. It wasn't just a match. It was a rite of passage, a breaking of chains, and a celebration of potential turned into power. History didn't just whisper her name that night. It screamed it.